Dolly here. Welcome back to Gypsy Rose Papery. You may hear thunder in a little bit because there's literally the hugest storm cloud above my house. But I had held a poll on my Insta stories to see if anyone wanted to see me or see how I do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. And the reason I did the poll was because I feel like there's a lot of these kinds of tutorials out there. But sometimes like it helps me see someone that I usually watch do something. It's like a weird mind connection thing. So this was a journal that I was working on for myself. I thought it would be nice to show you on a nice just plain journal because there is a lot of bulk still. It's a nice hefty, it's about 100 pages front and back. So it's a nice hefty journal. It's kind of basically flush. And so this is for just writing purposes. I'm not really going to be adding more to this. Maybe a few keepsakes here and there. I just did one page somewhere in here. I just did this page that has a pocket in case I wanted to hold anything. But most of it is all coffee paper or digitals, and these are by Sassfras and Treacle, but I will link her down below. And I just added these for fun, just for a little bit of decoration, but the fabric is absolutely gorgeous. So I won't digress, let's jump right in. So I have my little pouch here where I keep all my tools of the trade. Oh, this is the big needle. I need the smaller needle. And probably like 4 of these. Then I have my book block that I just use it to punch holes into, and I think probably all these top pages I'll end up just ripping out because they're really mangled. But I started using this other side too, so maybe we'll use this side. And then I need my thread, so 1 second. And all of these will be linked for you in the description box. So basically you want to take out your pages and you'll want to sort of just make sure that they're all right side up, you know. I'll see like this one is backwards, so that's a good thing that I checked. So make sure your pages are right side up. And if you have any sort of smaller pages, you just want to make sure that they are sort of, see, this one is also backwards. No, it's just I printed wrong on this side. This side is the correct side. So first off, just so that the pages kind of don't move, I preliminarily just clamp them right here. Oops. Make sure you have all your pages. I just clamp them so that they don't move on me. And then I just fit them into your cover and try to make sure that you have the same amount of space on the bottom and the top, like that. And I will then take off carefully this guy, and not really take it off, just kind of slide it over your cover as well. So I remember, make sure your pages are right side up, just so that you can see. So let's do that again. Just carefully slide it the right way around. So just slide it over your cover. And same with this side, making sure that the papers are flush on the spine as well. That's the other part. And so when that happens, I didn't do it on this side. I'll do it on this side. When that happens, you'll have this cascade of the middle page is going farther in because you're pushing down into that spine. So you'll see it on this side now too. See how the front pages, as you go in, they kind of cascade down. So that's what you want to make sure that it's right flush against your spine. And then holding it like this, and I'll try not to get my big head in the way. I eyeball, I don't measure. You could do a mock spine on some cardboard, make your holes perfectly even on that, and then hold that in place and poke holes as a guide using the guide that you just made. But I don't do that. I'm very sort of fly by your pants, fly by the seat of your pants. Is that how you say it? Fly by the seat of your pants type of gal. So I'm just gonna eyeball middle, which is about there for me, and press down, holding the book sort of closed, because that's how you know that the holes will be straight on the spine on the outside. Really get in there, twist if you have to break through. This cover, for example, has 2 layers of cardboard, batting, and fabric, plus the pages. So really get in there, and don't be afraid to make grunting noises if you need to. So when we pull it out, it's a nice big hole that is visible. Okay, so now we move on to your other holes. So I start in the middle because it's easier to then count 2 and 2, and that would make your 5. So I eyeball again 2 on this side, so about 1.5 inches from the middle hole, and then 1 inch from that next hole, same thing on the bottom. So just going to sort of eyeball there and press straight down and turn if you need to kind of make that hole wider. Okay, and then you're gonna see how the holes are nice and even. And then we'll do the top, and that's gonna be like about 1 inch from that second hole you just made. And again, making sure you're going straight down and turning and really putting pressure to make that hole. Okay, and then you can lift. And so I don't know if you can see, but you should be able to see through your holes all the way through to the other side. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I can see it. Like if I hold it up to the light, I can see the light shining through the entirety and the depth of that hole. So now I'm just going to flip it because it's easier for me to make holes up here than over on this side because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, then you probably have to reverse that. So again, just doing the same thing that I did on that side. Okay, then I'm looking up to make sure, so I'm seeing all through the holes, all the way through their depth. And when I look at my spine, they're nice and straight on the spine. And that will be important for when you stitch in your thread, because it will be very noticeable if they are not straight, if they're crooked. And then that's why sometimes they come out crooked for me, and you'll see me cover it kind of with like a detailed fabric or something like that, because obviously that's not a good look, and I would rather not cover up the spine. It's extra work. I like the look of the thread through the spine, so I prefer not to do that, but that would be a fix if you ended up with crooked stitching. So I use actually cord, a waxed cord, and I take double out of what I think I'll need because I tend to underestimate. And then the type of needle I use, it's called it's pretty bent because I've used it so much, but it still works. Basically I use what is called a doll maker's needle, or I think it has another name, detailing needle, something like that. but the reason I use this is because I can really guide the needle all the way through the hole and make any adjustments if I need to. So I really like using the extra long needle. I start my threading in the middle and pull all the way through, and then just in case I decide later on I want a charm at the end of this, I just leave a nice long tail at the end. And then when you come to this side, you have to be careful because you don't want to go through pages. Sometimes your needle will not go through the hole correctly, won't go in straight, and will like turn and go through pages, and then you end up with like double holes on the inside. So just guide it in gently when you're going through the fabric, and it'll come through on the other side nice and easy. So with cord, this is a flat cord, so I'm just going to make sure that it is flat and not sort of twisted. I'm gonna play with the thread a little bit. If you did a regular thread, you wouldn't have to worry about this step, but I do because I like my life harder. Then I go through the top hole. Okay, just bringing in the excess over so it doesn't get tangled. And again, because it's a flat cord, you just want to make sure that that cord is going to be flat on the inside as well. Now this is where it can get tricky. We're going to have to put this thread and this needle through this hole again, being careful that when we do that, we're not going to thread this thread through that thread that's already there. And how do I do that? While on the inside, I push the thread over and sort of create a space for myself on the bottom. So when I thread this back through, I push this over as well, so it's flat against the right hand side of the book. And then I just gently guide my needle in. And this is the part that I think a lot of people get sort of stuck in. Because sometimes it's hard not to get your needle stuck. And the other part is it's very hard to get the needle in straight. See, like I'm meeting resistance there. It could be hard to get the needle back in through the hole. So sometimes you'll have to unfasten one side so that you can see. So that's what we'll do, because I'm struggling here with this hole. So I'm gonna put it through just the cover. Okay, so we're gonna put it through the cover like this and see how it's threading through. Just make sure to come back out. Oops, sorry. You just have to kind of just really finagle it. And this is showing you the struggles of making junk journals. And that way you can then go through little by little, page by page. So that we make sure that we don't poke out any other pages. So for example, there we go. So once you guide it, you can kind of feel your way again. Of course, it would choose a tutorial to be super difficult. I usually can get these in pretty easily, but not today because I'm on camera and I'm trying to teach you guys how to do it. So we got it through. It took a little finagling. If you need to, go ahead and push it all the way through before you lose the hole again. But if you need to reclamp that, make sure you do it now. Making sure again that it's flush against your spine. and then go ahead and reclamp, and then continue on your way. So now we're threading in, and we're making sure that it's flush like that. So once you go through that headache of getting it in through the first outer hole back in, it'll come up through that same hole, and your next hole to go through will be this bottom one. Okay, so like this, it goes right straight through without a problem. Whoops, sure your cord doesn't get tangled. And then make sure that this cord is nice and flush if you have a flat cord like I do. And then you will put your needle through the last hole on the outside. And now, because we took it apart, it might struggle, but it went nice straight through. Okay. So we're making sure that this cord is flat. Like this. And now you'll have to go through that same hole. And again, you can move it to the side to kind of keep you from going through the thread again. And you can hold this one to the side. And now finally you will put this needle through the middle hole again, and you'll probably struggle again a little bit. Just try to go in straight, and this time it went nice and straight through. And you'll want to, if you have one string already on one side of that cord, you'll want to bring it, not like I just did. You'll want to bring this cord through to the other side. And if it's a little loose right now, don't worry about it, because that's what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna tighten. So let's make sure this cord is nice and flush. Okay, so all our cords are flush. So you can pull on the middle to tighten, and then you can pull on the bottom ones first, and then on these, and you can tighten the middle. So again, to make sure they're all tightened, you can pull on the top ones, then on the second one, not too tight because you don't want it to break on you, and then in the middle you can secure it all. Okay, and take off your binder clips now, because that could impede you being able to tighten. And what I like to do is just hold the string and kind of push up while holding the middle so it doesn't break your page, and then we can tie. So I tie one way over, and then I tie the other way over, and then I tie another time. So a total of 3 times, each way a different direction. And so now when you test it, it should be nice and tight and no lag. So it's nice and sturdy in there. And then you can push down on that middle hole, and the cords, just gonna cut about there in case I wanted to add any sort of charm there. And then you're not done because obviously a lot of pressure was put in the middle, so it's going to be like not wanting to close. So starting with page 1, you're going to just push down and make everything sort of sit right again. You're going to do this with each page one by one. It's tedious, but it makes your book look professional and it gives it a finished quality. So this is for me, so I don't really care, but you know, if you're selling one, if you're gonna make one for sale, even though it's junk journals, we still want it to have sort of a, you know, finished quality about it. Is it perfect? No, it's a junk journal, but it doesn't have to be carelessly done. And I think there's a difference between something being done carelessly, it could be seen, you can tell, and something that's just imperfect because that's part of its design. So I go through each page one by one, and we're in the middle again. And now on the other side, I do the same. Each page one by one, you're going to go through and push down. In the end, you want to make a book that is going to stand the test of time. And so now this is our book. It's nice and it's still kind of lumpy, or rather it's not going to close all the way because it's still new, but I'm going to go ahead and tie some sari silk around this. So our spine, see how nice and straight our stitching is. And so I'm really looking forward to using this journal. It's really fall-like, and I love these pumpkins so much. But yeah, that is it. That is it for a tutorial. It's not hard at all to do. It just takes some time and patience, especially when you're going back through each individual hole for the second time. I think that's what probably creates that anxiety, and I get it. I totally get it, because I hate when it doesn't align right, and like you saw, I struggled with the second hole, but overall you did a good job. So I'm excited to use this journal. If you have any questions, you can ask me down in the description box. I'm always happy to answer your questions, and until next time, I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.